Okay, so thank you for informing me that I am loud and clear. Okay, so for this afternoon, we'll be tackling is about the brief background on the development of theater. So the reason that I have decided to have this kind of setup, since pwede nyo naman basahin ang history ng ng module natin, pero there are some inputs that has to be emphasized as to the development of theater. It's very important since you are all studying literature, since theater is part of literature, and we are not only just focusing on the speech side of the discussion, but also on the theater side of our subject. So, since theater is part of literature, there is a need for us to also mention of the history of theater as to how theater was developed. So, I'm always mentioning this with my other literature subjects that it's very important that most of the those who are studying literature, especially in your case you are majoring English, that you have to um, be at least knowledgeable of history of the world kasi encompassing yan. In order for you to understand literature in general, a part of understanding literature is for you to also understand the world history. Kaya nga kayo may subject na world history. You should take your world history subject as a fundamental subject. Not only just for the purpose of just passing the subject, but understanding your world history will help you to also understand literature. Why? Because we will be tackling with in literature we are always tackling with the different periods, and these periods are divided in accordance to how we divide the discussion on history according to its period. Okay? So mamaya, papakita natin kung ano ba yung period na sinasabi ko. So the objective of this discussion is to describe the development of theater from different periods, identify the people who contributed on the development of drama, demonstrate appreciation of the contribution of theater from different periods. Okay, so before I move on my discussion, so let's just have a brief interaction. Tell us what you know or tell me what you know about theater. So comment down dyan sa ating comment section on what do you think, what do you know about the history of theater. Okay, I'm giving you I think 2 minutes to respond. Okay, so tell me about what you know about the history of theater. Anything that you know. So I'm giving you 2 minutes to respond. Okay, meron tayong nababasa. So from Johanna, sabi ni Johanna, ginaganap sa isang stadium. Ayan. About war also from Johanna. About war and pananakop ang theme before. Thank you for the input. Any other responses aside from Johanna? Also from Diane, uh, theaters are known to be played and presented in ancient Greece. Yes. Theater arts are performed in an open area before, according to Mark. Okay. Ayan. Before theater, travel to different places according kay Rochelle. Okay? So, Miles said, medyo bold ang kilos kapag nagpe-perform sa theater. Yes. Okay, so we are still waiting for other responses. Then sabi ni Elizar, theater aside from entertaining us, it also covers universal societal issues like poverty, corruption, and the likes. Okay, so thank you. Ang ganda ng mga insights ninyo about the history of theater. And I think those things that you have mentioned will be also mentioned here in our discussion. So may I ask kung nakikita ba natin yung ating slide? May I ask kung nakikita ba yung ating slide dyan sa ating live? Okay, so okay, si Diane said, it's a combination ng singing, acting, and dancing kapag nagpe-perform. Yes, tama. Vem said, theaters obviously are source of entertainment. But before the musical performance, there are other purposes, which are to witness or reveal a particular situation of the society. Okay, so all the responses truly make sense in our discussion for this afternoon. Okay, so um, as part of our discussion, we will be dividing the history of theater into five. We have the classical period. Okay, so we have the classical period, medieval period, Renaissance period, okay, Renaissance period, Romantic period, and the Modern period. So, dito natin sila hati-hatiin. So, mapapansin ninyo, itong same period rin ito is also the how we divide the lecture kapag pinag-aaralan yung history. Kasi nga, just like what I mentioned, encompassing yan. So, um, the history in general is affecting. So, the history in general is affecting literature specifically. Okay? So, when we talk of the classical period, of course, we are reminded of these figures. Yan, mayroong mga, this is in Athens, this is in Athens, and we are reminded of these structures, even this kind of structures. So, ito lagi mga pumapasok sa isip natin when we talk of the classical period. And when we talk of classical period, we always begin with uh, Greece. Sila talaga yung kino-considered as in terms of development, historical development of arts, of history, of philosophy, etc. So, lagi natin talagang sinisimulan ang discussion ng world history sa Greece. Okay? Kasi we always attribute that the civilization begins from them. Although we do have our historic civilization. But uh, when we talk of yung civilized na talaga, highly civilized, at yung mga tao ay mga tinatawag nating marami na mga thinkers, yung mga philosophers, mga thinkers, mga inventors, yung talagang na-develop ng isang society, nagsisimula lagi tayo sa Greece. Okay? So, Greece played a very important role in the civilization that we have now at present because of their contribution specifically in the field of philosophy, wherein in the field of philosophy, that is when everything begins. Okay? Encompassing, katulad sa sabi ko, science, arts, so humanities in general, ang laki ng contribution ng mga Griego. Okay? So, yung mga pinag-aaralan natin ngayon, yung mga perennial, pag sinabi natin perennial, ibig sabihin, panghabang buhay, pangmatagalan, perennial, pangmatagalan. Okay? So, ang tagal-tagal na ng early civilization ng Greece, pero until now, lagi pa rin nating naririnig sina Socrates, sina Aristotle, sina Plato. So, silang tatlo talaga, tinuturing natin na malaki ang contribution sa civilization, especially because of their wisdom, because of their philosophies, because they are the great thinkers of the world, the universe rather. Okay, so just like I mentioned, kung ang Greece nga ang consider natin na pinagsimulan ng mga ng uh, nasimula natin yung para nabuo na talaga yung society. Sa theater ganun din. Okay? So ano ba yung mga early forms ng mga theater? That time they don't have yet the concept of what a theater is. They don't know the concept of theater. Ginagawa na nila, pero yung sinasabi natin na ito ay teatro, wala silang ganong konsepto. But what they considered, historians considered as the early form of theatrical presentation was a festival that they offered for Dionysus. So Dionysus is the god of wine, fertility, and later the theater itself. Kasi yung mga rituals na ginagawa nila in honor of Dionysus, yun ay kinoconsider na rin ay na isang theatrical form. Hence, historians attributed Dionysus as god of theater as well. So, bakit wine and fertility? Of course, we all know that Greeks do love to drink. It's part of their pastime. It's part of their spree time. It's part of their way of living. So, pagkatapos nilang makipagyera, nagiinuman sila. So, they really like to drink. And wine is part of their culture. Drinking wine is part of their culture. Hence, of course, they praise one of the gods, which is si Dionysus. And obviously, fertility. Okay? So, parang katulad lang yan sa Pilipinas, yung, di ba, sumasayaw sa ubando. Alam niyo, sumasayaw sa ubando para lamang magkaroon ng anak. 'Di ba? Yun yung ginagawa ng mga Pilipino. So, parang ganoon din yung ginagawa ng mga Griego ng mga panahong 'yon. Sumasayaw sila kay Dionysus, inaalay nila si Dionysus para lamang sila magkaroon ng anak. Kaya tinatawag din siyang God of Fertility. Okay? So, the 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 festivity that they offered for Dionysus again is considered as an early form of theatrical presentation. At yung performances nila ay tinatawag na lang dithyrambs. Dithyrambs. Okay? So, ano ang dithyrambs? Isa siyang mga choruses. Pag sinabi natin choruses, chorus, yung parang sa kanta na sabay-sabay kayong kumakanta. Sabay-sabay kayong bumibigkas. Okay? In chorus yon. So, yung mga performers, they offered chant, they offered ritual, dances, songs, kumakanta. So, yung ganong form of pagan practice nila in honor of Dionysus is clearly observed. At yung performance nila in honor of Dionysus, ang tawag natin dun ay dithyrambs. And we have one person na kilala na nag-organize ng ganitong festivity. Siya si Pisistratus. So, he is an anti-Athenian leader who instituted the festival. So, siya yung nagpapasimula, siya yung nag-organize, siya yung bumubuo ng palabas na ginagawa nila para kay Dionysus. At isa sa mga kilalang performer ng time na yon ay si Thespis. So, siya ay nagre-recite ng poetry, okay, in honor of Dionysus. Yung dramatic monologue na ginagawa ni Thespis, yung tula na binibigkas niya in honor of Dionysus, is already considered as a form of a theatrical performance. Kaya nga meron tayong tinatawag na thespian. Pag sinabi natin, you are a thespian, ibig sabihin you are a theater person. You are someone who is acting on stage. So, yun yung tawag natin sa mga actors na nagpe-perform sa teatro. So, theater actors, tinatawag din siyang thespian. Okay? Thespian. So, yun yung tawag sa kanila. Okay? So, again, the early form of theatrical performance during the ancient period is attributed to Dionysus. The festivities that they are offering for Dionysus because of the bounties that they are receiving from Dionysus, the fertility, yung pagbubuntis na hinihiling nila kay Dionysus, and that is where it all began, yung tinatawag nating theatrical performances. Okay? So, now, di ba may nagbanggit kanina that it is performed in a open stage. Ayan yung makikita nyo dyan sa ating slide, yung Theater of Delphi. Yung Theater of Delphi, which is in Greece, it is an example of not as a stage because hindi naman siya elevated. It's a form of a place where the actors are performing. So, yan yung pinakang simula. Diyan sila nagpe-perform before. It's an open stage. So, imagine, it is in an open stage. How is it audible? How is it that they were able to make it audible? Since open space yan, at naliligiran sila ng mga bundok, nagba-bounce back yung kanilang mga boses. So, kaya talagang audible pa rin siya. And besides, yung time na yun, wala namang masyadong mga noises which might affect their performances. They just need to project their voices since they are surrounded by mountains. Their voices could bounce back. And looking at the structure of the stadium, that small stadium, that an open area where they are performing, it is half circle wherein mako-condense talaga yung kanilang voices in order for them to be heard. Okay? So, ngayon, papaano yung theatrical production? Sino yung nagpa-finance? Since may mga actors yan, may mga taong involved dyan, they need producers. So, how they are able to produce theatrical performances? That is where they have the so-called corrigia. So, corrigia, ito yung taxes na binabayad ng mga mayayaman. So, it is so-called as a special taxes na inaambag-ambagan sila. It's a contribution from wealthy people of Greece, wherein that is what they use in order for them to produce a theatrical performance. Okay? So, as we all know, that during the time, at the peak of the success of Greeks, there came the Romans. So, Romans conquered Greece. That's part of history, di ba? Yung mga Romans, inatake nila ang mga Griego, they colonized Greeks that wherein ang ginawa ng mga Romans, excuse me, instead of creating their own, what they did is they imitated what Greek has or had. So they imitated what Greek had. So all things that what Greek had established or what Greeks had developed, from philosophy to literature to arts, especially in arts in general, which includes theater, makita mo yung similarities dun pa lang sa mga gods and goddesses nila, di ba? Makikita nyo na iba lang yung pangalan, but the functions of the gods and goddesses in mythology, in Greek and Roman mythology, are similar. So kanila sa Greece they have Zeus, in Romans they have Jupiter. So may mga counterpart. So they just change the name, which wherein similar rin naman yung mga functions. So on that note alone, we can say that um, Romans have the Greek influences aside from the conquered Greeks, and that began the downfall of Greeks. When Roman came, of course, that's how Greeks fall. Okay, despite the fall of Greeks, still nandito pa rin yung kanilang mga um, teachings. Okay, so there's a need for us to also mention of Aristotle. Okay, ah pagdating din sa discussion natin, pagdating din sa subject nyo na literary criticism, I will be more in-depth on discussing Aristotle's Poetics, but I will be just mentioning articles Poetics on this subject for the purpose of mentioning you the influence of the work of Aristotle's Poetics in terms of the concept of theater. Because Poetics is it's a lecture book of Aristotle, wherein it contains his discussion, his view, his philosophical insights about poetry. And when we talk of poetry and we talk of literature in general during their period, there is only one form of literature. Again, there's only one form of literature during the ancient time, and that is poetry. Okay? And poetry is categorized into three. We have narrative, we have lyrical, and we have dramatic. Okay? So, narrative poetry, just like the Iliad and Odyssey. Lyrical, it is intended to be sung. Okay? Yung mga dinalapatan ng mga musika. Okay? So, it's lyrical. Dramatic poetry. Ito na yung pinaperform sa mga teatro. Okay? So, ang drama is under poetry during the ancient period. Again, drama falls under the category of poetry during the ancient period. Okay, so people are performing that time, performing in front of the people. However, the manner in which they are presenting their performances are in a form of poetry, patula. Excuse me. Patulan yung kanilang pagbibigkas ng kanilang mga lines. 'Di ba nga si Thespis, ni nagpe-perform siya in honor of Dionysus. So, patula rin yung kanyang pagbigkas, si Thespis. Okay? So, in Aristotle's Poetics, this is where Aristotle introduced to us the concept of tragedy and comedy. Okay? So, when we talk of tragedy, in-expound talaga to ni Aristotle sa kanyang Poetics. Okay? So, marami siyang mga discussion about this. Kaya sinasabi ko, Poetics is a lecture book of Aristotle. Para siyang early form of textbook na dinuturuan niya tayo ng about tragedy and comedy. So, paano niya diniscuss itong tragedy rito? Nagkaroon siya ng pag-aaral or analysis. It's a form of a literary analysis. Inanalyze niya yung mga known plays written by known playwrights during their time, such as Escuelos, ayan, sila Sophocles siya kasi Escuelos, yan, 2 sa 7 na pinag-aralan ni Aristotle, yung kanilang mga gawa. At tiningnan niya yung patterns. So, pinag-aralan niya yung mga content ng bawat plays na pinerform ng time na yon at nag-come up siya ng isang discussion that this is what we call tragedy. Bakit niya nasabing tragedy? Because, according to him, tragedy is the story wherein the hero has a pitfall, pagpagsak or pagkatalo ng isang hero. Usually namamatay ang hero. So, pero yung para sa kanya, tragedy should not always be considered as kapag namatay pala ang ang hero, talo na siya. No. Sabi ni Aristotle, it's not. It is the satisfaction of the object, or um, it is the call this yung I can't express the right term for that. Yung pag-attain niya na kanyang objective. Ano ba yung objective ng hero? Namatay man siya, pero na-attain naman niya yung objective niya. That is tragedy according to Aristotle. Sabi niya, ang isang hero, hindi yan perfect. Meron tayong tinatawag na uh, tragic flaw. Tragic flaw. Or sa Latin or sa Greek, hamartia. Okay? Ano yung tragic flaw? Ito yung imperfection ng isang hero. Sabi niya, hindi naman perfect ang isang hero eh. Hindi porke malakas siya, magaling siya, perfect na siya. So, a hero in a play or in a drama has always his or her tragic flaw. Yung may mali rin naman sa kanya. Okay? He is not perfect. May imperfection din sa kanya that leads him to his somehow fall or death. Pero despite the death of the tragic hero or of the hero, still nakuha naman niya yung kanyang minimithi. Okay? So halimbawa, pinaglalaban niya yung kanilang bansa, nagkaroon ng giyera, napatay nung bida, nung hero, yung pinakang salarin, pero may nakapala sa kanya at namatay din siya. Okay, it's tragedy. Pero hero pa rin siyang maituturing. Okay? So may mga ganong discussion si Aristotle doon sa kanyang poetics. And hindi ko na i-detalye lahat kasi wala lang akong ituturo sa inyong literary criticism kapag in-detalye ko. But at least I gave you idea of the content of Aristotle's poetics. Okay? So, comedy, hindi siya yung tinatawag natin yung hahagalpak ka sa tawa. It's a farce. F-A-R-C-E. Teka, ano ko sa inyo para alam niyo yung spelling ng farce. Okay? Iko-comment ko na lang. Ayan. Okay, farce. So, ito yung nakakatawa talaga. Pero during that time, they don't have yet the term farce. Okay? So, when we talk of comedy, of course, alam naman na natin ito lahat na ito yung may mga happy ending. And they live happily ever after. Ito yung comedy. Okay? So, that is, again, a dramatic poetry. So, drama during the ancient period, under siya ng poetry. Okay? Nakasakop siya doon. So, these are some of the known play na nag-survive. Okay? Ito yung mga surviving na until now ay nababasa pa rin natin. Okay? So, we have Escuelos, who is considered as the father of tragedy, according to my historians, because he did a lot of tragedy during his time. And one of the tragedy that Escuelos wrote was Agamemnon. Okay? Kilala naman natin si Agamemnon, di ba? So, si Agamemnon is kapatid ni Menelaus doon sa Iliad. Okay? Wherein si Menelaus, inabduct niya si Helen, and ang namuno para makuha si Helen laban sa mga Griego ay si Agamemnon. So, ang kwento nito ng Agamemnon ay of course yung kwento nung pag-aaway nila ni Achilles, yung pagiging babaero ni Agamemnon. So, kinarakterize siya lang rito yung sino ba si Agamemnon as projected or as portrayed in Iliad by Homer. Okay? So, malaking impluwensya ni Homer nung time na to. And we also have Sophocles. Okay? Kilala natin si Sophocles. At kilala nyo for sure si Oedipus Rex or King Oedipus. Rex in Greek is King. King Oedipus. Okay? So, napapakinggan nyo rin or na-encounter yung term na Oedipus Rex sa discussion nyo sa psychology when you discuss of Freud's psychoanalytic theory, di ba? Wherein sabi sa psychology, ito yung batang babae na merong hidden sexual desire sa kanyang father. Okay? So, nanggaling yung term na yon sa play na sinulat ni Sophocles, wherein si Oedipus, hindi niya alam na yung nagugustuhan niya palang babae ay ang kanyang nanay. So doon umiikot yung kwento. Aside from the battle of Oedipus in terms of protecting their kingdom, part of that also is part of that also is the story between the desire of Oedipus to his mother. Okay? So, ayan. And then we also have Euripides na nagsulat naman about the Trojan women. So, ano ang kwento ng Trojan women? Ito naman, ginawa niya yung kwento is what happens to the Trojan women after the fall of Troy. Diba doon sa Iliad, natapos ang kwento ng Iliad sa pagbagsak ng Troy. Okay, so nabawi si Helen at yung mga kababaihan sa Troy dinala sa Greece. So, ano ngayon naging buhay ng mga babae doon? Ano ngayon ang naging buhay ni Cassandra, yung kapatid ni nila Hector at saka ni Paris. Okay, so yung may nakaka-project ng future si Cassandra. Meron din nalik din niya kay Agamemnon si Cassandra. Okay. So ano naging buhay ni Queen Hecuba? Si Queen Hecuba na nanay ni Helen, nanay ni Paris at saka ni Hector. What happened to Hecuba, the Queen Hecuba? So Cassandra, kay Hecuba, kay Helen, and the wife of Hector, ano nangyari sa kanila. So, doon umiikot yung kwento ng Trojan women. Okay? So, yung naging life nila doon. So, ginawan nyo ng play ni Euripides. Okay, so kilala siya sa tinatawag nating Deus Ex Machina or Deus Ex Machina. Deus Ex Machina. Okay. Common to sa theater, sa play. At common din to sa ilang mga pelikula. Ito yung tinatawag natin na malapit na parang nasa verge na or malapit ng mamatay yung isang actor o yung isang character. Parang wala na, there's nowhere to go. Halimbawa, may isang character na nasa creek o tip ng creek. Malalim yung creek na babagsak kanya. At may humahabol sa kanyang kumpol-kumpol ng mga sundalo. Okay? So, pag tumalon siya doon sa mataas na sa bangin, pag tumalon siya sa bangin, mamamatay siya. Kapag sinugod naman siya ng mga kumpol-kumpol ng mga sundalo, mamamatay din siya. Yung sinasabi natin, there's no way to go. And here came Deus Ex Machina. Deus is God. Machine is machine. Ito yung sinasabing nating divine intervention. Biglang may darating para iligtas ang bida. Halimbawa, nung tumalon, may iba-iba ang forms ng Deus Ex Machina. It could be a person that will save the character or the character na malapit ng character na muntikan ng mamatay. It could be a person, or it could be a thing, or it could be anything na pwede siyang iligtas, na all of a sudden bigla na lang nag-exist para maligtas yung bida. Halimbawa, ang ginawa na lang ng character ay tumalon, at sa pagtalon niya biglang may liwanag na dumating at inakay siya ng liwanag paakyat at palayo. Deus Ex Machina. O halimbawa, gawin natin more realistic. Naglalakad ka sa kanto, tapos you are being captured by two groups of people. The other one may hawak na kutsilyo, the other one may hawak na baril. So again, there's no way to go. So bigla-bigla, habang papalapit yung mga tao na gustong pumatay sa'yo, gusto kang kitilin, biglang dumating ang isang tao na nagligtas sa'yo out of nowhere. Let's say, isang passersby na bigla na lang dumating at nung nakita ka, binugbog yung mga nandoon at pinagtanggol ka. Dux ex machina. Okay? Yung sinasabi natin, Dux machina, isa tong literary device na ginagamit ng mga writers para iligtas ang isang characters na kasi gustong-gusto natin yung characters na parang malapit na siyang mawala, malapit na siyang mamatay or what. Gustong-gusto natin yung ganung excitement pero gusto natin na maligtas pa rin yung character. So gagawa ng paraan. Pwede rin maging Dux ex machina. Let's say, nandun ulit tayo sa kanto. Sa kabilang kanto, nandun yung isang papatay sa'yo. Sa kabilang kanto, nandun yung isang papatay sa'yo. There's nowhere to go. Bigla-bigla na lang meron ka natapakan. Doon sa natapakan mo, isa pala yung butas na maghuhulog sa'yo on the other side. Dux ex machina rin yun. Okay, sabi ko sa'yo, it can be a person, it could be a thing, it could be anything that can that a writer can implant on a certain scene that will help the character to survive. Okay, so that's what we meant by Dux ex machina. Okay, so si Euripides ay tinuturing na isa sa mga nagpa-uso o nagpasamuno ng Dux ex machina. Okay? So, that's what happens. That is the highlight of the ancient period. Ito yung gusto ko lang i-point out kasi although napakaraming insights na dapat pa tayong i-discuss dito, but I just focus on the most important part of the discussion. Okay. Okay. So, now, doon tayo sa medieval Europe. Doon tayo sa medieval period of theater. Okay. So, di ba nga nabanggit ko kanina sa inyo, nagkaroon ng war between Greeks and Romans. Sabay-sabay yan sa buong Europa. Kasi nga, yung time na yon, ang mga tao, in order for you to survive, in order for your kingdom to survive and to be strong, there is a need for you to conquer other kingdoms. Uso yan. Okay? The Angles and the Sacs, yung mga yan. So, habang nagyagera, may epekto yan syempre sa society. Alam naman natin that war, just like what others had mentioned kanina, that war affects the society in general. Kasi kapag merong gera, merong nasisira. And this what happened during the medieval Europe. Yeah, okay, so maraming mga nasira ng mga panahon yon, and they really need to regain. Okay, so since we're talking of theater here, ano nangyayari ng mga panahon yon? So the theater in medieval period, despite those conquering of kingdoms, alongside with that is there is a development of theater. By the time ang mga naghahari-harian ay at ang may maimpluwensya aside from sa monarkiya ay ang mga pare. Okay? So alam naman natin that the priests or the friars have a strong or high influence in a society, especially here in the Philippines. During one of the examples natin dyan, parang katulad yung nangyari sa Pilipinas na ang mga fraile ang kumukontrol sa gobyerno. Parang ganun din yung nangyari nung time na yon sa medieval period. Although they have the kings and they have the queens, they have all the monarchs who are powerful. Aside from them, equal powerful din sa kanila ang mga religious, mga people in the church. Okay? So, yung time na yon, there is already the concept of Catholicism. Alam naman natin that it's begun from Rome. Okay, so kaya nandun yung seat of Catholicism natin and expanded all throughout the all throughout the continent of Europe, yung Catholicism. So, and with that expansion of religion, so it made the Catholicism a citadel of citadel of power sila. Ang lakas talagang may impluwensya sila at may epekto yung sinasabi nila sa monarkiya. They are part of the deciding body. Since they are part of the deciding body, they are also powerful in terms of controlling um, the arts, especially theater. So, most churches only perform these plays for specific religious occasions. So, ang tawag natin ay sacred drama. Okay, during that period, in the medieval period, talagang ang highlight ng theater ng time na yan ay sacred drama. Since it is a sacred drama and it is only performed during the religious occasions, religious plays were in service to God. Anong purpose nila noon? Of course, to propagate Christianity, to propagate Catholicism. So, ginagamit nila ang teatro to propagate Catholicism. Okay? So, para mas mapalawig pa nila yung Catholicismo. So, aside from sacred drama, meron ding tinatawag na secular drama. Ito naman yung in contrast doon sa sacred drama. Kung ang sacred drama more on religious, itong secular drama, ito naman yung response nung iba sa sacred drama. Ang tawag naman dito is secular drama. Of course, there's always opposing ideas. Hindi naman lagi at lagi na may umuoo doon sa isang idea o konsepto ng mga sacred drama. So, para may pakita yung kanilang panunuligsa doon sa sacred drama, yung ilang grupo gumawa ng sarili nilang theatrical performance na kung tawagin nila ay secular drama. So, they are performing secular drama during the Feast of Fools. Ito yung tinatawag nilang Feast of Fools, a popular medieval festival which is particularly performed in France. So, doon nila ginagamit yung kanilang sarcasm, yung kanilang panunuligsa doon sa sacred drama. So, it is a rare opportunity to criticize holy men and the superiors. Yung superiors na tinutukoy natin dyan, part of that are those in the government, or those in the monarch. Okay? So, kaya naging niche ito ng comedic theater. Okay? Yung Commedia dell'arte. Iko-comment ko na dito yung spelling, hindi ko nalagay dito sa slides ko. Commedia Okay. So, saan nagsimula yan? So, it's in Italy. Okay, sa Italy, talagang pinopagate yung Commedia dell'arte na yan. Or in English, we call it the Chromatic Theater. Okay, so, it is now begun, the Chromatic Theater by the time. Okay? The Chromatic Theater or Commedia dell'arte. Term, it is an Italian term to refer to a comedic theater. Okay, I will just like to take a pause. Okay, so after the comedic theater, along with the comedic theater or along with that, ulitin natin, we have the sacred drama na very conservative because it tackles about religion. Then we have the secular drama. We have the secular drama. Secular drama wherein that is in in response
kung ikaw ay sinampal ng isang tao, binugbog ka ng isang tao, and then you
Kun ano yun, kasi meron kaming seminar ngayon. Kunwaring nagse-seminar ako, binuksan ko lang yung Zoom. Para-paraan. But I need to go to discuss eh. Anyway, so kunwari lang na nakikinig ako sa kanila. Kaya ako nag-pause, nag-login lang ako. So, vernacular drama, ito na yung pangatlo. When we talk of vernacular, we're talking of language. So, that time kasi they are very strict with the language that they use. They use Latin instead of English. So, since most of those people who are in sacred drama, since sila yung mga priests at mga prayers by the time is in a form of a Latin, they are expressing their prayers in a form of Latin, and of course in theater they're also using Latin. So um in in contrast to that, maraming mga tao pa rin talaga na nahihirapan makaunawa, of course. What if yung iba naman yung mga languages nila, 'di ba? Kasi 'di ba sa Rome, ang pinag-ugatan naman lahat halos ng mga languages natin. Yung diniscuss natin yung sa language and society, that most of the terms that we are using right now came from Latin. So yung mga terms sa mga languages sa France, yung French, yung Italian, ayan, mga nag-originate, even the call this the Spanish, Latin ang pinagsimulan ng mga yan. So, kaya nagkaroon tayo tinatawag nating vernacular drama, wherein dramas written in common language. So, kung ano yung language nyo doon sa inyong lugar, yun yung gagamitin na language. Okay? So, that's the highlight of vernacular drama. Okay? Utilizing of the language that is common to people, wherein people could really understood. And vernacular drama that time, we can still see the influence of sacred drama. Why? Because there are three types of vernacular drama. One, mystery plays, wherein the story primarily based on the Old and New Testament. So Bible pa rin siya base. 'Di ba sa sacred drama, sa Bible siya makikita. Sa Bible siya nakabase. Sa miracle plays based on the lives of the saints. Ano ba yung mga miraculous things that the saints did in order for them to become a saint? Kasi 'di ba bahagi ng pagiging santo mo ay dapat meron kang nagawang milagro. So, yun yung kanilang pinoportray sa miracle plays. And then we also have morality plays. So, taught a lesson through symbolic characters representing virtues or faults. Okay? So, this is what happened during the vernacular drama. Although during this period, nandito na rin yung mga kwento ng mga knights in shining armor. Kasi nga, 'di ba, kasagsagan ito ng paglusob sa iba't ibang mga kaharian para lamang lumawak ang kanilang teritoryo. So, nandito rin yung mga chivalric romances. Okay, pag sinabi natin chivalric romances, ito yung pag-iibigan ng mga knights in shining armor, yung love story ni King Arthur at ni Guinevere. I am Guinevere. And also yung pagkakagustuhan ni na Queen Guinevere and Lancelot, na nasira yung friendship nila ni Lancelot tsaka ni King Arthur because of the illicit affair between Lancelot and Guinevere. That's why I am using the term Guinevere. That's why my name is Guinevere. Because I am Guinevere. Okay? So, yun yung may dadagdag ko rito. Hindi ko nalagay sa slide. Pero, again, aside from vernacular drama, chivalric romances are also one of the highlights of medieval period. So, since kasagsagan ng territorial dispute, agawan ng powers, ng mga monarkiya, labanan ng even the churches, the separation of church, nagkaroon din ng ganon. Di ba nga, nagkaroon tayo ng Roman Catholic and then we have the Anglican Catholics. Yung Roman Catholics, yung sinusunod natin dito sa Pilipinas. So, the Anglicans, uh, yun yung form of, not that form, that a group of Catholics in Europe, especially in England, doon sa Canterbury Church. So ganun yung kanilang practices. Iba yung practices nila. Isa sa mga ibang pag-practice nila is yung babae pwedeng maging priest sa Anglican Church. Yan. So nagkaroon dyan ng Protestantism. Okay, so marami nangyari, maraming distraction, politics, society, nasira. Okay, if you go back to your history subject, you will be realizing ano tong mga turmoils na binimension, sir, yung mga political turmoils that are affecting society in general that time. Hence, nagkaroon tayo ng Renaissance. When we talk of Renaissance, di ba, ang tawag natin sa Renaissance, it is the rebirth, muling pagkabuhay. Kasi nga, during the medieval period, maraming nasirang relasyon, nasirang politika, nasirang gobyerno, maraming nasira. So, they really need to regain, they really need to rebirth, they really need to fix things in order for them to have a new society. And that is when Renaissance period came. So, the objective of the Renaissance period is just to fix things up, ayusin yung mga nasira. Okay? So, makikita nyo rito sa aking illustration, stage. Makikita yung stage na yan. So, yan yung stage na ginagamit ng time na yan. So, ibang-iba doon sa Greek period at ibang-iba doon sa medieval period. Kung sa Greek period, they are performing it outside, sa kanilang stadium, sa kanilang amphitheater, kung tawagin, amphitheater. Okay? At doon sa sacred drama, during the medieval period, sa harapan ng simbahan sila nagpe-perform. Pero sa Renaissance period, nagkaroon na sila ng parang theater house na ganito yung itsura sa pinapakita ko sa inyo. Okay? So, 3 important developments that happened during that time. So, nagkaroon ng secular themes. So, kung ano yung nangyari doon sa secular drama, nagkaroon lang ng repetition dito sa Renaissance period. Nagkaroon ng secular themes, mga non-religious. Kasi nga, di ba, ang pinopromote during the medieval period ay mga sacred drama. Stories from the Bible, yung kanila. Because nga, of the influence of the Catholic Church. Nagkawatak-watak sila. Nagkaroon ng Roman Catholics, nagkaroon ng Anglicans, nagkaroon ng Protestantism. So, kung mawala si Martin Luther King at bumuo siya ng sarili niyang religious organization na kung tawagin natin ngayon ay Protestantism. So, dahil kawatak-watak na yan, part of the important developments in the Renaissance period is through a secular theme. And also, there's a rise of professionalism in acting and playwriting. Before kasi parang ano lang siya just part of participating in the festivities. Di ba nga, during the sacred drama, nagpe-perform lang sila if and only if ina-ask sila to perform by the priest na magkakaroon tayo ng ganitong performance sa ating simbahan, mag-perform kayo, parang yung ginagawa nating sinakulo dito sa bansa, sa Pilipinas. So, parang ganun lang, parang special event lang siya, na doon ka lang magpe-perform. And during the secular drama, ganun din, nagpe-perform lang sila kapag may festival, katulad yung Festival of Fools. Doon lang sila nagpe-perform, kaya nga it's a rare opportunity for them to perform. So, wherein during the time of the Renaissance period, nagkaroon na ngayon ng opportunity na ang mga actors at ang mga playwrights. So, naging parang isa na siyang trabaho, naging isa na siyang profession, yung pagiging stage actor at pagiging playwright. So, ito yung important development na nakita natin. Third, plays perform in English rather than Latin. So it is a breakthrough, a continuation of breakthrough during the medieval period where it began the vernacular drama. Okay, teka lang. akala ko naka-unmute ako, bitin naka-mute ako. Okay, so again, it is a continuation of the vernacular drama na kung saan gumagamit na sila ng common language. So, again, these are the three important developments na makikita natin na ito yung nakitang pwedeng ipagpatuloy during the medieval period that still exists up to now. Okay, so this is an illustration of the performances where the people are performing. So makita natin 'di ba parang it's um, a modern amphitheater during the Greek period. Where in Greece, 'di ba, they're performing outside in an open area. So during the time of the Renaissance period, they're also performing in an open area. So they call it the Apron Stage. Okay? So in England, Queen Elizabeth I strongly supported the theater. So, ganyan yung illustration natin. Another one. So, bumabalik na naman tayo sa problema. Okay, during the Renaissance, religion affected theater. Why? Ito yon, epekto to ng separation of church. England's government swung back and forth from Catholicism to Protestantism. 'Di ba sabi ko sa medieval period, nagkaroon ng separate churches, like separation of the religion. So, swung back and forth from Catholicism to Protestantism, and during this time, ang naghahari talaga ay mga Protestants during the Renaissance period. At medyo nagla-left behind, medyo humina ang mga monarkiya ng mga panahong ito sa Renaissance period, at talagang nangunguna ang Protestantism. Kaya kung babasahin yung didactic, i-comment ko. I'm sure naririnig nyo ng didactic eh. Ayan. Kung na-encounter yung term na didactic, ito yung didactism, ito yung isa sa mga parang philosophy during the time na kung saan may kinalaman ang mga Protestants. So, dahil pa bago-bago nga ang back and forth nga ang Catholicism at Protestantism, and nagkaroon ng time wherein the writers are using theater in order for them to attack Catholics. Ayan. Theater was threatened. Makikita nyo illustration ko. Sabi dyan, no? Keep out, you are you should not be here, sir. I bring good cheer. All Greeks welcome, do not leer. Okay? So makikita niyo diyan yung nasa gitna, that is a priest, and side by side, on the left side we have here soldiers of England, and here a peasant. So you can really see the three social classes here. We have here a priest, a soldier, a powerful soldier, and then we have here a peasants, and very rampant during that time yung social classes. Okay, so the political problems in England at that time made theater dangerous. Theaters were also associated with the time to spend time watching performances instead of working. So sinasabi nila yung mga tao mga tamad, mas gusto pa nilang manood ng teatro kaysa magtrabaho. Parang kinukonsente ng teatro ang pagiging tamad ng mga tao. So yun. Theaters were also associated with prostitution. So sinasabi nila na may prostitution na nangyayari doon sa teatro. Fear of the plague, ito yung disease, plague, para siya yung coronavirus ngayon. So there's a spread of plague during that time. Parang coronavirus, a spread of disease. Nung time na yun, kung tawagin nila i-plague, na marami nagkakasakit, kaya napasara rin ang mga theater houses. Okay? The popularity of Shakespeare. So kilala na rito si Shakespeare. So kasi nga Shakespeare yan. Okay, so the most notorious playwright in the history of theater, even up to now, encourage a more natural style of speaking and acting. Okay, so if you happen to read his works, yung Othello, the more Venice, his King Lear, his Romeo and Juliet, yung work niya yan. So explore the theme of good government. During this time, plays were still presented in open air theaters are at times presented at the court. So, yung pinakita ko sa inyong illustration kanina. At tulad nito, this one is a Globe Theater, is a panorama in a room in London. So, it still exists up to now if you happen to visit it. If you would like to visit this place. So, ganyan yung structure ng theater house during their time. This is an actual sketch during the 1596 of a rehearsal in on the thrust stage of this one. Thrust stage. Sabihin elevated. Okay? Thrust kasi merong mga nakapaligid. So, didiscuss naman natin yung different types of stages as we go through with our lecture. So, ganyan, ito yung sketch ng stage yung time na yun. So, dyan sila perform. And if you're going to compare the sketches and on the actual photo that we see on the left side, so we can really see the similarities of these photos. Okay, so ito yung mga costumes nila yung time na yon. Obviously, this is the costumes for the monarchs, and this one is for the peasants, yung mga aliping sa gigilid, the peasants, the farmers, the workers, the middle classes. Yan. So this is an actual poster. So it is a play entitled A Game at Chess. So ito yung poster niya. Another poster which was printed or published in 1630. Yan, so makikita nyo na meron na silang, kasi by that time meron naman ng print kasi 1500s meron ng na-invento na ni Gutenberg ang print. Kaya there's no question kung bakit sila nakapag-produce ng ganitong output. Okay, another example. So this is a play script in 1631. The Life and Death of Dr. Faustus. Ito yung pinaka-controversial si Christopher Marlowe. Okay, very controversial ang Dr. Faustus na to kasi it is medyo dark kasi ang kwento nito is binenta niya yung kanyang kaluluwa sa demonyo para ma-fulfill niya yung mga gusto niya sa mangyari sa buhay niya. So, pero behind that, pinaglalaroan niya yung monarkiya, pinaglalaroan niya yung gobyerno in a sarcastic way. So, yan sinasabi ko sa inyo that they used play in order for them to attack the government or even to attack the religion. So, figurative ang paggamit kay Dr. Faustus. And then, we can see here, it is an actual illustration when Shakespeare and Ben Jonson. So, this is Shakespeare and this is Ben Jonson. So, Ben Jonson is also one of the known playwrights during their time. So, ayan. Okay, so, those are some of the highlights of the Renaissance period. Okay, let's now proceed on. It's 2:02, I still have 30 minutes. Okay, the Romantic period. So, it's from 1782 to 1832. So, the Romantic period, pag-isip natin Romantic period, ang papasok agad sa atin is romance. Okay? Pag-iibigan. Yun yung term agad natin, di ba? Kasi, however, kaya matatin na romanticizing. It's something that make things more imaginative, make things more beautiful. That's what we meant by romanticizing. We're just making things beautiful to look at, to see, to sense things beautifully. Okay, that's what we meant by romanticizing. Okay, so it refers to a movement in a literature and music during the 19th century. So it is characterized by the 5 I's. Imagination. So dito na talaga ang period na kung saan kumawala yung mga tao doon sa realistic. So talagang they really explored literature in general. So they become more imaginative and they use a lot of styles. Talagang they are already exploring different styles of literature during this time, and even they are exploring how to write drama. They're exploring the different ways of presenting the stories in the drama. They become more imaginative. Intuitive. Okay, it's all about questioning things, and also idealism. Okay, inspiration, and even individuality. So, in talk of individuality, ito yung as a person, they are para may pagka-realism na they are expressing what's the essence of the subject of a particular story. Okay, so in exploring individuality ng tao ngayon, who is that person? The behavior of that person. Individuality. Okay, so pag pinag-usapan natin yung uh, romantic period, punta tayo sa Amerika. Dito kasi maraming mga development sa Amerika. So, sa American theater, dito na uso yung mga melodrama. Okay? So, yung mga dramatic na talaga yung mga content ng mga stories. So, melodrama was particularly popular in the 19th century America. So, melodramatic plays usually included music, a clear good and evil dichotomy, and a happy ending. Kasi nga, melodrama, di ba? Pag sabi natin melodrama, malungkot, pero may masayang part, and then it's with a happy ending. Ganyan yung konsepto ng melodrama. And of course, the dichotomy. Yung dichotomy, parang binary concept. Kapag may good, may evil. So, clear sa atin, bakit siya naging good at bakit siya naging evil. So, nakarakterize yun. I mentioned of Uncle Tom's Cabin. So, Uncle Tom's Cabin is written by Harriet Beecher Stowe. It is actually a novel written by Harriet Beecher Stowe, wherein naging popular siya because during that time there is a conflict between the whites and the blacks. So yung panahon ni who is that president? I forgot that president. Okay, so the president of the US. Okay, so comment nyo ako sino yun. Yung I forgot that president, yung talagang pumirma ng isang kasunduan na kikilalanin ang mga blacks na pinaglaban niya. Okay, so Uncle Tom's Cabin discuss about the maltreatment among the blacks. Okay, may yung mga papaano minaltrato ang mga blacks. Kinukuha sa South Africa, binebenta sa kung saan, dinadala sila sa iba't ibang bahagi, especially in America. So, yun yung journey nila. Okay, so that is why I think naging premiado ang Uncle Tom's Cabin that time. Okay? Because it's very timely. It affects the society of America. It affects the society in general because of the discrimination, because of the maltreatment that yes, thank you. It's Abraham Lincoln. Thank you. It's Abraham Lincoln. Yan, Lincoln. Siya yon yung nagpirma talaga na pinaglaban niya yung mga blacks without reservation, sabi niya nga. Okay? So, inadopt ang Uncle Tom's Cabin into a play. Okay. So, ang America rin ay kinukonsidered as the seat of Broadway theater. So, sa kanila, ina-attribute yung pagsisimula ng Broadway theater. Alam naman natin yung Broadway theater, di ba? Para Lea Salonga, na may kumakanta, may sumasay, para siyang musical. Actually, it's a musical play wherein what made it different from the usual musical plays that it's extravagant. Iba na yung lighting. Nakita niyo yung development ng stages. Ng stage mula doon sa open stage sa Greeks na walang masyadong mga technical aspects hanggang doon sa pagtatayo lang ng stage sa in front of the church during the medieval period hanggang doon sa papatayo ng theater house sa Renaissance period, wherein during that time ay wala pa namang mga technical aspects, basta bare kung ano lang yun nandoon, ang light na ginagamit, kung ano lang yung natural light na meron sila, that's what they're, which is unlike in Broadway. When you say Broadway, it's extravagant, full of colors, full of lights, full of backdrops, costume wise, ang gaganda, and then very captivating. So, ibang-iba sila doon sa mga nauna. Of course, by that time, during the 19th century, already have an advanced technology that they can use in order for them to really produce a very extravagant stage play. So, it began in New York City during the 19th century. And it became so successful that these theaters have their own awards, the Tony Awards, and we're very lucky that one of our actors that time was awarded, si Lea Salonga, because of his solid performance in um, Miss Saigon. Ayan. Doon siya nagkaroon ng Tony Awards because of that very spectacular performance where he performed the role of Kim. You are my sun, and you are sunlight and I moon. Ayon. Joined by the God of Fortune. Charot. Okay, so yon yung performance ni Lea Salonga. Okay, Broadway is still persevered up to now, and mas lalo naging bongga ang Broadway. Talagang it is dinadala nila kung saan even in the Philippines. Dinadala nila ito yung Broadway. Recently, 'di ba? Daming mga Broadway the Cats. Okay? So in England, in France, so maraming mga Broadway houses doon na naglipana, and it's a prestige being part of the Broadway. Okay, because of the iba yung kanilang discipline in terms of how they act, kasi kumakanta, sumasayaw, so holistic sila doon. You should not only can sing, but you should also know how to move, because there are some scripts that require you to dance, so you really need to dance. Okay, so the main types of American romantic dramas during that time, first is the quasi-historical characters. So it's interacting in a cynically romantic distant locale, affection, sorrow, and romantic longing. Ito yung usual na romance, love story, meets boy meets girl, girl meets boy, romance. Okay? So, yung hindi magkabate, bigla nagkainlaban. The usual stories ng pag-iibigan. And historical figures. Saigon, 'di ba? Historical 'yon. Ni Saigon. Okay, sinister gothic performances of mysterious and supernatural adventures. The Cats. Okay? Modern horror novels. Ay, by the way, I forgot to mention to you that during the romantic drama, kasi nga it's a period of imagination eh. Tinuturing din itong period of Gothic. Okay, period of mga Gothic. Ano yung mga Gothic? Dito nakilala kung I don't know if this was mentioned in your world literature eh. Kapag may world literature kayo, dapat dinidiscuss ito eh. Yung history ng literature. Okay, sa world literature dapat na mention to sa inyo. Ang isa sa mga kilalang Gothic writer that time is Mary Shelley, yung asawa ni Percy Bysshe Shelley. So si Mary Shelley, siya yung nagsulat no? Sige nga, sino nagsulat, anong sikat na sinulat ni Mary Shelley? Comment nyo nga rito kung sinong sikat na story, letter F, yun, letter F. Okay. May time pa naman tayo. Sige nga, ano yung sikat na sinulat ni Mary Shelley? Yung 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 main character doon, si Victor. Ang title niya nagsisimula sa F. Sige nga, sila makakahula. Game muna tayo. Wala sumasagot Another clue. Siya yung linikha. Very good, Diane. Frankenstein. Yes, it's Frankenstein. Ayan. Si Mary Shelley. Ayan, si Mary Shelley. Ayan, si Mary Shelley, asawa ni Percy Bysshe Shelley. Bysshe. Ang ganda ng pangalan, no? Pero lalaki yan. Yung nagsulat ng sikat, isa sa mga kilalang writer, mga poet si Percy Bysshe Shelley sa poet. Sinulat niya yung Hercules. Yung describe yung katawan ng Hercules. Okay. So, naka-impluwensya kay Mary Shelley si Percy Bysshe Shelley. Okay, so because of the encouragement of Percy and the friends of Mary Shelley, ayan, siya talaga ang nagpasikat ng mga kwento ng mga Gothic stories, yung Frankenstein. Okay? So, si Victor. Okay, another one is, dito rin nagsimula yung mga kwento ng mga Dracula. Sa bandang England, sa bandang Europe, mga Dracula naman ang mga sikat o mga popular na mga characters. Dito sa bandang Amerika naman, yung mga monsters naman. Yan. So, kaya siya tinawag na period of imagination. So, nakita nyo kung paano kumawala sa traditional na tema ang mga writers ng panahon yun. They are inventing. Okay? They are inventing. They reinvent in terms of yung romance stories, reinvent, but they are inventing. Okay? Nag-explore talaga sila. Kaya talaga tinuturing na period of imagination din ang romantic drama. Although it's a romantic period, pero the way they look at the romanticized aspect of it is on the Gothic way. Diba? So, kanya-kanya na mga interpretation yan. Okay, so the common themes of American theater is libertarianism. So, free from convention, tyranny, democratic spirit. Okay, it's obvious kasi that time kasi may mga political turmoil din in the government. Diba nga, sinasabi ko sa inyo kay Lincoln, the divide between the blacks and the whites, the discrimination among the blacks, yung mga nasa southern part ng America, ng US, doon yung mga blacks eh. Then sa western part, doon yung mga whites. So, it's very apparent that there is a discrimination because of their skin color. Hence, there's no wonder why there are stories that there are literary works that deal with libertarianism, democratic spirit, just like the work of Harriet Beecher Stowe, which is the Uncle Tom's Cabin, which is considered as one of the greatest work or literary work of the world, along with the Bible, along with the Analects, along with the Book of the Dead, the Book of the Sun, El Cid Campeador, along with those, isa siya sa mga greatest books of the world. Okay? It's about nature, unspoiled scenery, description, kasi nga, di ba? Describing the nature. Ayan, ano nakikita ng kanilang mga senses. The lure of the exotic, picturesque, romanticized view of the past, mystery, superstition. Ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo, yung the supernatural theme, word about folktales, connection of identity of self. Connection of the identity of self has something to do, let's say, yung kay Victor nga, the identity of Victor. And now, we will now move on in the modern period. So, what happened in the modern period? Okay, of course, we have to expect na modern period must, in terms of technology, mas dapat na-develop na siya. In terms of the stage, dapat mas maganda na siya. But in terms of the themes, in terms of the thinking, kada period kasi there are different thinkers. And again, history affect literature. So, whatever the history, whatever the kind of society they live in during that period will actually affect the literature that they have. May nagpapatugtog pero may klase ako. Okay. So, in the modern period, of course, we have to expect na mas na-develop na talaga siya. And then we have the contemporary theater. So, may kita nyo rito, dito sa stage pa lang. You can see, yung improvisation. Tawag natin dito sa improvisation eh. Improvisation. Dito sa mga nakatayong white, nakita mo talaga yung improvisation ng kanilang props. Kala simple lang, pero it's an improvised one. Okay? It's not traditional. Okay, yun sa improvisation, non-traditional in terms of the blockings, in terms of the stage design. Okay, they are really experimenting. So during the 20th century, the world changed forever. So merong world wars and much social and political upheaval, and along with this are the significant changes in contemporary theater. Pag sinabi natin contemporary period, modern period, it is from 1940 up to present. We call it the contemporary period. 1940 up to present. Okay? So, what happens during 1940s? Okay? So, of course, meron tayong mga types of drama, modern drama. We have the modern realism, theater of the absurd. Bakit natin ginamit yung term na modern realism? Because realism exists ever since. Yung simula pa lang noong 1500s, I think that's Renaissance period, nag-exist na yung realism. Kaya ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng realism? It has something to do with reality, with what is real. Kung ano yung nakikita natin na totoo, it's realism. It has something to do with human behavior, the real expression of human being. May pag-expressionism, di ba? Okay, so, it's the reality, parang ganun. Nandun naman yung keyword real, reality. So, bakit siya naging modern realism? Let's see. And we also have the theater of the absurd. Theater of the absurd. Ano yung absurdity? Ano yung absurdity doon na makikita natin? Bakit kailangan ng absurdity? So, I'll give you a hint. Ito, may pagka-absurd. Itong photo natin sa baba. Okay, and this one ay pagka-realism. Okay, so let's decontextualize. Decontextualize, I mean, baliin. Himay-himayin. Okay, so, realism in theater was meant to be a direct observation of human behavior. It is what it is ever since it was introduced during the Renaissance period. It's still up to present. It's still an observation of human behavior, the reality about human behavior. So it began as a way to make theater more useful to society, a way to hold a mirror up to society. Kasi nga reality, you have to mirror the society. Nandun naman yun eh. So, in order for you to see what the society is, as it is portrayed by theater, dapat ipakita mo kung ano yung realidad sa paraan ng pagtateatro. Because of this thrust towards the real playwrights started using more contemporary settings, backgrounds, and characters. Okay? This is where plays in the past had, for the most part, used methodological or stereotypical characters. Now, they involve the lower class, the poor, the rich. They involve all genders, classes, and races. And that is what realism is all about during the modern period. Di ba nga na-mention natin yung diniscuss kami isa sa inyo, di ba? From medieval, from the ancient to medieval to the Renaissance period up to the Romantic period na meron talaga lang silang mga selected na topic or themes na pinaperform. But this time, it is encompassing. Kasi nga, it's reality. If you are after with reality, you really need to show what the society is. And that is by including all aspects, all forms of human lives. Okay? So, the Realism Movement is considered as the beginning of modern art. The Realism Movement in theater and the creation of a more naturalistic acting style continued to flourish in the 20th century. Anong sabihin ng naturalistic acting style? Kasi kung nakakapanood kayo, di ba, ng ilang mga clips ng theater during the Renaissance period, mga performance, di ba, babasahin yung tula nung kay Shakespeare, patula, kasi may pagka-poetic din naman kasi yung mga play ni Shakespeare, yung iba yung way of delivery nila, which is unlike now, it's naturalistic acting style, wherein how you speak in the usual, that is how you should deliver the lines. Kung hindi ka na masyadong nagpo-project ng voice na parang parang may pagka-poetic ang dating ng iyong delivery. Na ngayon, natural voice ang gamit. So, there are conventions occur in the text, the costume, the sound, and the lighting, and performance style and narrative structure. So, dati kasi ang narrative structure is 3-part structure. May simula, may gitna, may dulo. Okay? Pag-aaralan naman natin yung narrative structure na sa mga susunod na araw. So, the theater of the absurd, pag sa term pa lang absurdity, it's the theater of the absurd attacks the comfortable certainties of religious or political orthodoxy. So, dito, tinutuligsa yung religion and the politics in a way that it sounds like absurd. Halimbawa, it aims to shock its audience out of complacency to bring it face to face with the harsh facts of the human situation as these writers see it. So, kung halimbawa ang harsh reality ay binubugbog, kinakawawa ang mga kababaihan sa isang lipunan, yun ipapakita nila. That's the harsh reality. Kung halimbawa ay merong, let's say for example lang to sa religion, isang pare na ginagalaw ang isang babae at very rampant yon, if that is the harsh reality, yun ang gagawin mo. Papakita mo yon. Kasi nga, absurdity to eh. Gusto na lang in order for you to realize, ang objective ng absurdity or theater of the absurd is to let us see the painful side, let us see the ugly side, let us see the bitter side, let us see the dirty side of the society in order for us to realize what we can do as a human being. That's their objective. Pakita mo yung harsh reality to the people. Kaya, pakita mo yung absurdity of life in order for the people to realize that things that they should not do and the things that they should do in order to overcome those societal problems or societal issues. Okay? So, kaya sabi dyan, express what happens when human existence lacks meaning or purpose and communication breaks down. These movements which grew out of the postmodern movement believe that life has no meaning and there's no God. Absurd eh. Kung ang isang play ay pinreject ito, gusto niya ipakita dito that there are some people who felt that life has no meaning. Hindi naman niya intensyon na ganun rin ang isipin ng ibang tao. Again, the purpose of absurd is to saktan tayo, ipasampal sa atin ang realidad at para ipamukha sa atin na ito yung nangyayari at gumawa tayo ng paraan para hindi na ito mangyari or to at least ease the problem. Absurdist drama was existentialist theater which put a direct perception of a mode of being above all abstract considerations. It was also essentially a poetic, lyrical theater for the expression of intuitions of being through movement, situation, and concrete imagery. Language was generally downplayed. Okay, so these are some of the major productions of the theater. Okay, so there are lots of lists that you can choose. Okay, so those are the highlights of the discussion of the historical development. So since kinat ko na siya, actually I still need to discuss to you the different theaters of the world. Di-discuss ko siya probably by next week na lang. Okay? Para dire-diretso rin tayo. Kasi pag sinama ko pa siya, it will consume much of your time since you still have your classes pa this afternoon. So, kaya I need to I still have 2 minutes left para magpaalam sa inyo. Okay, so thank you very much for taking time. So, next meeting, what we'll be discussing is about the theater in the different parts of the world. So, China, India, Japan, and even the Philippines. So, pag-aaralan natin yan. So, ano ba yung mga types of theater? Mahalagang malaman nyo yun para expand din yung inyong knowledge of the different theaters. So, with that, thank you very much and see you next meeting for another discussion about the history of the world of theater. So thank you and mabuhay. Oops. Ay, wait. Sige, before I close pa, I'm welcoming questions pa. Baka may mga questions pa kayo. We still have time pa naman for clarification. I forgot to ask question. I forgot to ask if you would like to ask some questions pa. Okay. Do you have any question? Sige.